Hi everyone. So today I'm gonna do a second lesson based on drawing. That's gonna be kind of a continuation of what I covered yesterday about light and form. So today I'm gonna do a cube. So drawing a cube. If you have something that is in your apartment or house that is cube shaped, and then you can put a one light source, and that's going to really help you visualize what I'm doing. And then the second thing that I'm going to talk about is perspective. So again, I'm teaching you some techniques. This isn't, this doesn't mean this is, what it means to be an artist or what it means to be creative. I'm just teaching you some techniques that could help you represent the world that we see, and also maybe help you see the world around you in a new way. So I'm going to just imagine it. So first thing I do, and you can, if you want, you can use a ruler or you can use the edge of another sheet of paper. Again, I'm just using the my woodless pencil, but that's, no different than using your number 2 pencil. So I'm gonna use a folded up sheet of computer paper and make a square. So if you have a ruler, or if you want to be really precise about actually making perfect cube, you can, measure it out, or you can do like me where I'm just like marking the paper how far I'm going. And when we get more into, when I talk about perspective here in a minute, I will explain this in further detail, but have you ever noticed when you're looking at a cube or a building that's square, and it's going, as things get further away, they get closer to the vantage point, so they get smaller. So something you can do is draw like a little dot on your paper. So see, I have my not perfect cube, and then a tiny little dot right here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect these 3 edges to that dot with my paper ruler. Okay, so now this is a little 1-point perspective for you, okay? And then the next thing I'm gonna do is use my paper ruler to draw a line that's parallel to the top of the square. And so, parallel just means equal, 2 lines equal distant at all points from each other. And it doesn't really matter how far it is, I'm just kind of like guessing. And then from there, okay, so that you can kind of see. Okay, so that's what we got so far. And then from there, I'm going to create a right angle from this point, a right angle, so going straight down, that's parallel to this line. Okay, and then once you've drawn your edges like that, then one of the things you can do is go back and kind of erase this part, like everything that's behind here that goes to the vantage point, because, you know, what you'll notice when you start, you know, viewing and or, you know, even if you're looking at like a milk carton or a cardboard box or something, like, everything will have this, but you're not necessarily seeing, you're not seeing the vantage point. So we're gonna erase everything behind. Okay, so now we have something, and again, mine's not perfect, but, you know, so we have something that looks like that. And then, similar to what we talked about yesterday, I'm going to imagine a light source. So today, I'm gonna imagine that there's a light source coming from here, okay? So one thing that you'll notice is, okay, so if we have the light source coming from there, let's say this is on a table. Then the darkest part, similar to when we did the sphere, the darkest part is going to be where the cube hits the table, and also less so, I would say about a 6 to a 7 on our grayscale that we made yesterday. So if you guys still have your grayscale from yesterday, this is probably going to be about a 6 to 7. So actually, let's go ahead and start with that. Okay. And similar to the sphere that we covered yesterday, we don't really see, you know, edges. So if you have a really heavy dark line that is separating, you know, the planes from each other, it's gonna, if you're going for a realism or more realistic look, then it's gonna look more realistic if you don't have this like super heavy line, unless it's, you know, something, a look you're going for. Okay, so another thing that's kind of cool about that we'll notice about this side is it's gonna get, you know, slightly you know, darker down here towards the edge, and then we're gonna imagine that there's a shadow here. And the shadow, you know, where the cube hits the table, or whatever it is we're imagining that it's on, is gonna be the darkest, probably the darkest part on the drawing. It's probably gonna be as dark as like a 9 or 10 on your grayscale. Okay, so probably like here fading out to those two. And something that a lot of shadows do, you know, it really depends on the placement of the light source. So like if you have a setup in your apartment or home that is a live setup, it's probably going to be really close to the object that you're drawing, and in that case you're probably going to get a much more defined shadow. But when you're walking around outside and you know, the light source is the sun or whatever the light source is, you're going to notice that a lot of the shadows really dissipate, and that's because of two reasons. One, because the further the light source is away from the object, the more dissipated the shadow gets, and the second thing is that it's very rare for there only to be one light source, so you're probably getting, you know, shadows from different directions. But I find it helpful to, you know, just imagine in an ideal situation of it being, you know, one light source. So this one's probably going to be, I'm going to make mine, I'm going to imagine that this is outside and then it's not like totally defined edges. Okay. And then the most kind of interesting plane to draw is going to be this front plane, because I'm imagining that this light source is hitting, you know, most bright on the plane that we cannot see, and also on the top. So this front plane I'm gonna suggest is somewhere in the middle, probably like a 5 on your grayscale. And then the interesting thing about this panel is that it is gonna get lighter as we get to the top, because there is gonna be some more light that is gonna directly hit it, then, or not directly, but indirectly hit it, than as we get closer to the bottom. And if you really want, if you're going for a realism, then it definitely is good to get rid of those very stark lines. But I think a point to note is that you know, it's good to understand. It's good to understand how to do things realistically, but you know, just if you think about, you know, Cubism and Picasso, and you know, it's and all different other types, Salvador Dali. I mean, what can be the most interesting is not what already exists, but how you see it. And so, you know, they changed what reality was for them. You know, so again, I really want to stress that I'm, you know, helping you look at what already exists and what we see in our world, but that, you know, does not mean that you're a better creator for just being able to draw exactly what you see. It's definitely a good skill set to have. And, you know, but after, you know, I would say after you've kind of mastered some techniques, you still need to be, you know, playing around with what, you know, you want to create. So, okay, so see how I've kind of, so I'm kind of making, it's almost like a wave shape. So you can, again, I know I said this yesterday, but I'm using my finger, which is a really bad habit to get into if you're working on a drawing that you want to keep. Make sure that you're using a piece of cloth, like sock or something, so that the pig or the oils on your hand don't wear down the paper over time. So there's going to be this really subtle shade there, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of erase a little bit of this box so the lines aren't too dark. So where the cube, where this line meets the top line, ever so slightly, it's not the same color. It's, you know, maybe like a 4 or 3 on your grayscale. And that's why I think it can be good to erase some of those lines. Now, something that if you really want to create the illusion of space, and you can do this with your other creative works, a great thing to do is if you have a lighter colored object on a dark background, it's just naturally going to look like it's coming forward, because our eye is first drawn to lighter colors. They're more reflective, so it's not like tricking your eye. But if you make, so for example, I mean, this looks pretty, three-dimensional, but if I make this background much darker, then you can kind of see how it helps it pop out. And that's just to give you, I mean, I could go and color like the entire background, but that's just to give you the concept of, you see how much more that this looks like it's like coming at you now, like if everything above the table was totally dark. So there you have it, a lesson on drawing cubes and 1-point perspective. If you guys have suggestions of things that you would like to learn, or things you'd like me to cover, then feel free to send me a DM, or you can email me at hello@carrieable.com. I hope everybody is safe and well and enjoying their time alone. All right, bye guys. Thanks for joining in.